Connected teaching and learning using digital tools. Magic revealed for the second assignment, the group document. I chose to do the inquiry chart that you can see here, the assignment in my Google Classroom. I chose this as our group document. I really like this strategy. I used it as a KWL, what you know, what you want to know, what you learned from the unit of study. Now, that idea being that it was that evolving, that under construction document that students would build. And because, again, the highlight here is a group document, the students would build together as a class. So at the elementary level, I did this to start a unit. I can see at the secondary level how you would do this slightly differently, but the focus with this was on how would you start this particular unit. So before I got into instructing teachers on Google Classroom, as it reads there, what I did, I would add an assignment, and then from there I would connect different documents from my Google Drive. Now the documents that I'm going to connect are a couple different things. The two different things that my documents I've added were the inquiry chart that I had already created and the rubric to score it, as you can see here. The reason I have the rubric, I used it eventually, not at the beginning, but I used it eventually to score my students after I had already instructed how to participate in the group document, such as adding their ideas and adding a certain number of ideas as a bare minimum, as well as commenting on other people's ideas so that it became one more place for the discussion to happen. So again, the rubric that I mentioned there. The group document I'm going to go to now and highlight a few things. So first off, you'll notice in the group document, I scroll down slightly, you'll notice that I used rows and columns in a table format. I did that by inserting a table and picking the number of columns and rows. All right. So I chose 2 columns with several rows. The reason I did this is so when you click, and in Google Drive, I'm the only user right now, but if there was more than one of us that are using the same group document, then the cursors would show up and it would show up different colors for different people, such as if a classmate of mine had clicked in the second column first row and I had clicked in the first column's second row there. From there, different colors and such. The rows are to help locate where you're typing so that you've got your area. If I was doing this with an elementary classroom or even secondary, I would consider adding a third column, and that third column would be name. And then the topic, I want them to think about what they know and what they want to know. And I would put each student's name. At the elementary level, I would actually go as far as type every student's name so that every student had their identified area, so that there was no more of he, she is typing in mine, they're ruining mine kind of things. There was less of that, I should say. So the idea being in this group document I put in columns and rows in an inserted table format. Now, with that, I'm going to get out of here, see if I can undo all of that. So the next thing that I did, this part here, if you'll watch right here, when I click here, it says normal text. When I click outside of that and highlight the date that I put in, it says heading. The reason why I went to this, and I actually changed the styles, the style formatting here. Much like Microsoft Word, Google Document now has the ability, if you put in a heading style format for the text, and then normal text for everything else that you want, then you have the ability to insert a table of contents. And what's important about this table of contents is when I've done that right here and inserted table of contents, that allows me to click on February 6th and allows me to click then a link that jumps to that. This is an advantage, such as in the elementary classroom, I did this by having the same inquiry chart for all of my science lessons, all my science units, sorry. So that would mean if I was doing some of the forces and motions units at this elementary level, or anything to do with food chemistry at like a fourth grade level, ecosystems and such, instead of dates as the headers, I would have had things like forces and motion and had my class discussion there. So from there, this I'm using in the format of these are the different dates that I do these sessions. But I could see at the secondary level how you would do this for period 1, period 2, period 3, and then have those units of study that you introduce. And not only is it then the unit of study building a background and sharing a background knowledge and then revising that thinking for the first period, but you also go to, as you can see, another date to where I had other students that were working here on the side. All right, to other dates that I had students working, to other dates, etc. So the group document that I had, organized with tables, used the style formatting for the headers so that I had the ability to insert a table of contents. And then lastly, how I got around and having students then participate. This was typed by a student in my class, but this comment was inserted by me. How to insert comments? You select the text, insert, comment. You can also do this keyboard shortcut. But when I do that, you can see how this text selected is now highlighted yellow, but it's not really highlighted. It's just showing the selection is yellow there. From there, you can see this little flagged kind of conversation box with my icon of a picture. I can type whatever comment I have here, right? And then if I click comment, it shows up. Now, as you can see, I did a comment up above right here, and this is how to give feedback on assignments. I comment, have you tried inserted comments? And then the person can reply back. You can have an off document in the document conversation. So this is also something that a teacher could evaluate. Remember I mentioned that rubric? So the idea I have here, number of inserted comments for revising the no's and the questions, I could go back in each student and then count so that it's that group participation or that classroom discussion sort of grade. All right. So again, the group document that was assigned here as an inquiry chart, I had that group document. I had the rubric attached here. The last little tidbit here I did, when I made that assignment, I did one last thing. The type of copy that happened. I didn't make it to where students can only view. That means they can't do anything. I made it to where students edit file. And what you can't see is me holding up one finger, singular. I've got my index finger up counting 1. So I made it to where students can edit the single file. I didn't make a copy for each student because it's supposed to be a group document. So with that in mind, the magic revealed for assignment 2, the inquiry chart.